Long, long ago, in a time when the elemental spirits still played upon the planet, when the wind spirit would dance around with joy as he playfully etched the surface of the earth, when his friend, the old and weary earth spirit, would be in constant battle with the sea spirit as it slowly eroded the solid rock and digested it into its endless depths. Like the inexorable forward march of time, he knew he would eventually lose the game. What he hadn't realised is that the wind spirit had formed an alliance with the sea spirit to combine their energies to defeat the tired old spirit of the earth. The fire spirit, who had long since devoted his existence to the earth, tried in vain to support his comrade. This gave hope and companionship to the earth spirit, but they both knew it was only a matter of time before they would both eventually succumb to the inevitable. It was this realization that caused the earth spirit to develop a new strategy, one where he might just stand a chance of winning. After all, what is the point in playing a game if you know you cannot win? He called a meeting of all the elemental spirits to explain his new game. He knew the sea spirit would agree to this. After all, what is the point in playing a game if you know you will win it? We will create creatures to represent ourselves and to continue the game for us. These creatures will be called humankind. They will be weak, but many in number, explained the earth. This will safeguard the game so it will last forever. They will be given free will to play the game, and we must give something of ourselves to these creatures, to give them life and to cause a penalty should we lose one of them. The sea piped up. If we lose one, we can make another to replace it. In fact, that which we give of ourselves must always cause to create more creatures, so the game will continue for all time. But this will be very costly to ourselves, said Fire with some concern. What happens if these creatures lose their way? Then we must have a symbol to remind them of who they really are, and to keep them on purpose, to continue the game, replied the earth. What symbol shall we use? Said the wind. The earth spirit spoke out. What about a flame, a sacred flame of life? And for as long as it burns, the people will know themselves and why they were brought into existence. And the game will be good and continue. Yes, agreed the others. It will be a good game. Then it is agreed, said the earth. Yes, the others announced in unison. It is agreed. So they set forth to create humans. They gave these people something of themselves to bring life to them, and they set forth on the land and on the sea. There were many of them, each one playing their part in the game, each one knowing why they were created, and the game was good. All this time, the sacred flame burned, kept safe by the fire spirit who guarded it, knowing how precious it was to the people and to the elemental spirits. For if it would ever extinguish, all would be lost. The game was good. Well, for the earth people, it was good. The sea people were being devastated by the power of the earth people. And that is why the wind spirit and the sea spirit had a secret meeting. We are being annihilated, said the wind. We must make more people. No, said the sea cunningly. That is not the answer. We must fight fire with fire. What do you mean? Asked the wind. We are wind and water. We can't make fire people. No, my naive friend. We must fight the fire. The wind spirit looked curiously at the sea spirit, not really knowing what he meant. There is only one way to stop the earth people, and that is to take away their purpose, the sea explained. But how do we do that? Asked the wind. You must extinguish the flame of life, ordered the sea. But that would be bad for all of us, stated the wind. It must be done, the sea again ordered. This is the only way. Sadly, the wind agreed. I know what I must do. Like only the wind can do, he flew into the mountains where the fire spirit had stood guard for such a long time. He entered the sacred cave with one intention, to extinguish the flame. But first, he would have to overcome fire, who he knew would not give up without a fight. What brings you to my domain? Said fire. I have come to do what I must do, replied the wind. And what must you do? Asked fire. I have come to extinguish the flame of life, he replied. But that is foolish, explained fire. You would be destroying yourself and all the people. I have no choice, said the wind. It is the only way. You will have to get past me first, said fire, as he raised himself to engulf the entire cave. But the wind spirit didn't try and fight the fire spirit by creating a hurricane and blowing out the flame, as the fire spirit had expected. Instead, he flew out of the cave with such speed and force, he sucked the flame spirit out of the cave along with all the air. The flame of life gasped for air as it tried to stay alight, but without oxygen in the cave, the flame flickered and spluttered and eventually died. All was then forgotten. As time passed, the people had lost their way and had virtually destroyed each other. Having forgotten the reason for their existence, they had become dumb and unknowing. The elemental spirits, having given so much of themselves to create the people, had grown very weary and forgetful, as if in a perpetual sleep. All seemed lost until one day a man exploring in the mountains came across an unusual cave. Its walls seemed strange to the man. They were made of an unusual mineral. The man picked up a piece of the rock. He felt its weight in his hand. It felt heavier than the rock he was familiar with. As his thumb stroked its hard, smooth surface, it caught a sharp edge. He tossed it away. When the rock hit the wall of the cave, it gave off a large spark, which fell into a pile of moss on the floor of the cave. This caused the dry moss to ignite. The man was at first afraid, not knowing why the moss had started to burn. But after looking at this flame, a kind of knowing came upon him, and he felt calm. The cave had retained some of the essence of the flame of life. Not the power it once had, but enough to give a spark of hope to some of the people. Just enough to cause a few to rise above the barbarity into which they had fallen. Enough to give mankind a chance.